Hello and welcome everyone. I am here today with Dr. Andrew Segarra. Did I say that right?
Correct.
Awesome. And he is coming to you from Harrisburg, North Carolina. Doc, I know you have a very big and busy practice and, do a lot of good for a lot of people. So thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. So you were telling me now you're a chiropractor and you've been in practice for a number of years, but you're also starting to help people with weight loss. And so I was very interested, most people don't go, oh, chiropractic weight loss. That makes sense. That goes together. So tell me, how did that come about? Why are you starting to focus on helping people with weight loss? Why is it so important to their health?
Well, a lot of our patients over the years, we've treated a lot of people with back pain, and if people are overweight, obviously that's not going to help their back, so that was one reason. And we have a lot of patients that have high blood pressure, they have diabetes, they have so many other health ailments, and if you're able to help them losing weight, learning how to eat better, then overall they're going to make a big change in their health.
Awesome. So you talked about eating better. I mean, what are some of the things that people run into today? I mean, obviously we get into habits, over the decades, fast food has become more popular, et cetera. But I mean, what would you say is the biggest problem with people's diets today?
I think that they trust what's the norm. They don't go back to basics, meaning they will. To me, an old mentor of mine used to say, anything that's in a wrapper, a can, a box, has been processed and is not a whole food any longer. So if we're able to eat more whole foods, like off the land, eat leaner protein, more fruits and vegetables, and eliminate things like bread, pasta, and rice, or things that have added sugar in it, they never read the label or understand how to read a label, that if they're able to make those changes and keep things simple, I don't know, there's a book out there called Caveman Diet. Back in the day, we could only, hunt and eat protein or eat some type of fruit or vegetable and drank water. That was it. That's how our bodies were made to be. So if we can get back to that simplicity again, I think people are going to be a lot healthier. If you can explain it that way and get their mind wrapped around it, they really do well with some of our programs.
Now, I've tried the caveman diet, and we're able to do it to a certain degree. I'm sure other people out there have maybe heard of it, but a lot of people don't really understand how science has really gotten us away from the caveman diet, and how these foods and these labels that you're talking about, don't even necessarily always disclose everything that's in there, or how much of it's in there, or how bad it is for you. And science, in my opinion, has really betrayed us, with some of these things. So people hear these terms like GMO. From your standpoint, what is GMO, and how good or bad is it for us?
Well, the real term is what? GMOs are genetically modified organisms. And, I don't want to get political, but there's a lot of reasons why that's happening because of what the government and what some of the organizations and big corporations that have a lot at stake have money involved in making sure that they're going to be able to sell their products. And if whatever you're eating has been modified genetically, it's not something that your gut or your intestines can necessarily process correctly. So you got to be real wary of things. And there's some big companies out there and some areas in Europe that will not accept some United States agriculturally grown or seeds because they have been modified too much, that I think contributes, in my professional opinion, to why a lot of kids have food allergies, or there's a high rise of irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease. Those people are just they can't handle the change. So, and I think that's it's a good hypothesis. How's that? Nothing's been proven. So.
Yeah, and obviously it's somewhat new along the line relatively as far as GMOs and the time track of man, so to speak. But I can definitely say that, as a kid growing up, I don't ever remember people having allergies or any of those kind of issues. And today, it's like every family you run into has somebody who's allergic to something. And it's mind-boggling how much that's changed in a few short decades.
Yeah, I mean, kids with peanut allergies, you can't even bring cupcakes made from home. They have to be store bought. You know, when you're bringing things in for my kids at their school, it's just stuff that, yeah, you and I, when we grew up, we didn't have that problem. And I think it's a sign that our bodies can't take this much manipulation, if you will, of our food.
So true. Awesome. So for your everyday person, your mom, doing her best to raise kids, maybe on a budget, etc. I mean, how do you make these healthy choices? Because I mean, you talk about Whole Foods. There's Whole Foods Market, which the joke is, you spend your whole paycheck too.
Very
So,
true.
how do you do this on a budget? How do you stay organic or whole food or healthy, and do it economically in these challenging times?
I think you pick and choose your battles. I think the biggest thing that you try and do is maybe if you have a weekend that you can plan out your meals for the entire week, maybe cook them and all you have to do is reheat them. That's a good thing you can do. Then, yeah, you can't do everything all at once. I mean, try and pick one thing, get that into your routine for a week or two, and then add another one. If you can't afford everything, I understand exactly what you're saying, but there are lists out there, or there's lists that we give to our patients that have been researched and saying, hey, here's a good thing to buy organic, and here's the thing you really don't need to buy organic, and here's the reason why. So there are lists out there that you can get that we hand our patients as far as how to be healthy, or that they, for example, like bananas. There's such a heavy skin on that, it doesn't need to necessarily be organic. Something like strawberries has little holes with seeds in it. So that's one you'd want to try and get organic because there's a lot of pesticides that can enter in through those little holes in strawberry. So I think you just start somewhere and slowly try and build up and plan your work week out that, hey, I know I'm going to be eating these types of foods on certain days instead of, gosh, I don't have time, let me go run to McDonald's or something like that. Just one day at a time is what I tell people. You can't change everything overnight, just slowly start implementing.
Great point. And one thing that in my research I've seen is that almost everyone overeats, and the amount of money that the average American wastes on food that they buy and then throw out is massive. So, what kind of advice could you give our listeners to maybe how to properly figure out the portions and then properly buy the amounts and actually save money in that respect to make the whole healthy eating even more affordable?
A good rule of thumb is if you have the palm of your hand, that's a portion of protein. That would be one serving of protein, if you will, there. Then you never want to put more than carbohydrates, or you never want it to be larger than the protein. You want to make it equal is a good rule of thumb. And then your thumb here would be 1/10 part fat. So you want to try and divide things up. Unfortunately, our diet is more what? Bread, pasta, and rice. So you're going to overload on carbs and not eat as much protein. So portion size. I remember looking at my grandmother's china, and the plates are, I don't know, half the size of the plates you buy now at, I don't know, Crate and Barrel or Target. So, yeah, maybe just say I'm only going to get one serving. I can't go back for seconds. And I want to make sure if I'm looking at my plate, I want half of it, if you will, or at least a third of it to be leaner protein, and the other 2/3 have to be fruit and vegetables. That's a good rule of thumb I'll tell patients.
Perfect. Love it. Awesome, Doc. Well, I know you're busy, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. You've already given us some great information, good pointers. If somebody wants to get in touch with you to get that list that you mentioned that you send to your patients, what's your website so they can actually contact you?
It's harrisburgchiropractic.net. And we do have some other websites that have some weight loss information on it. And if they fill out some of the information there, I will get the email. We'll be able to send it on to them.
Awesome. Perfect, Doc. Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate having you, and I'm sure our listeners can learn how to eat healthier with this information.
Great. Thank you.